I feel that in the late 1980s, Capcom really hit their stride. They had some great games in the arcades and home consoles as well. They had to deal with Disney to produce games for the NES, and then they were also putting versions of their arcade titles on the NES, and then they had their own original games as well. And Mega Man was one of them. The original Mega Man didn't quite sell as well as Capcom had hoped. However, as long as it didn't interfere with other projects that they were working on, Keiji Inafune and his crew were allowed to produce a sequel. What came of it wasn't just the best-selling Mega Man title of all time, but also one of my absolute favorite NES games. If you've never played the original Mega Man game, truth be told, you're not missing out on much. The gist of the gameplay and story really don't change all that much from one Mega Man game to the other, at least not until the later games in the series. You just choose your stage and jump and shoot your way through it. If you beat the Robot Master, you add his weapon to your arsenal, just like every other Mega Man game. Honestly, I don't think I ever played that original game until not too long ago. It's quite difficult and pales in comparisons to its sequels. Frankly, I think you can just skip it and jump right into Mega Man 2. After defeating Dr. Wily in the last game, the evil Doctor vowed to get his revenge and builds 8 new Robot Masters to take down the Blue Bomber. The enemies in this installment are Airman, Bubble Man, Metal Man, Flash Man, Wood Man, Heat Man, Crash Man, and Quick Man. Just as before, each master has a weakness to another's attack. That's the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, which is why the main character is called Rockman in Japan. With this game, even though the masters are all weak to certain attacks, Metal Man's Metal Blade attack is kind of overpowered and without a doubt the most effective weapon in the game. Another neat addition to this game are the 3 travel abilities you pick up as you progress in the game, which create bouncing or hovering platforms, even a rocket sled to get you past tricky platforms. This evolved into Rush the Robot Dog, which appeared in the later games, but that's for another review. Making this go-around much more manageable than its predecessor, this game introduced the password feature and the energy tanks, 2 features which the series is known for. Also, the standard difficulty setting of the Japanese version is what we call difficult on the US version. Enemies take more damage from Mega Man's attacks in this normal setting, making things even more approachable for a new player. I didn't get my NES until December of '88, so platform games were all new to me at that point. From what I've seen of the original Mega Man game, it just seems kind of dull when it comes to the visual design. Mega Man 2 is a big improvement. Enemies and stages have a lot more personality and way more interesting look at. The color schemes and background detail are so unique and have a great variety to them. One thing I know that I have mentioned many times over in the past is the music in this game. While Manami Matsume, who is one of my favorite video game composers of all time, did the first game's music, it was Takashi Tateishi who did most of the composition and arrangement in this game, and he did some amazing work here. I've always felt that the Flashman stage music was simply infectious and has been ingrained in my mind for the past 26 years, but the rest of the music in this game is just as good. As many of you know, Mega Man went on to become one of the biggest franchises in video games. I think only Mario's really had more games as a whole to his credit. Keiji Inafune himself said so. Capcom could have just as easily swept our Android hero onto the rug, and the gaming world would have been a completely different place. If you've never played a Mega Man game before, this is actually a really good place to start, especially if you want to tackle that classic series. It's a fairly widely available game. You can find it on PlayStation Store and Virtual Console, as well as on mobile phone platforms. It was also released as part of a Mega Man compilation on the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and the original Xbox. I had the PlayStation 2 version, and honestly, it kind of rubbed me a wrong way. I wasn't a big fan of some of the arranged music, and the controls just felt a little bit off. Regardless, this is one of the essential classic platforming games out there, and if you have an NES, you owe it yourself to get this game. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.